and welcome to Retrospectives and First Impressions. My name is Chantal.
And I'm Patricia. I run Yellow Mouse on YouTube.
Yes, and I'm just TheMouseKnight on YouTube. And this is a series where one of us rewatches something from their past, while the other is viewing it for the very first time, and then we talk about it. So, Trisha, what did you make me watch today?
The 80s Transformers.
Yes. So why did you want me to watch it?
Because it was something that I watched when I was much younger growing up, and it's something that I have a lot of nostalgia for, and it's turned into so many different things that I kind of wanted to show you where it started.
Yes, it's amazing where things start and how...
80s cheese. It starts with 80s cheese.
Oh boy, yes. And it's always one of those things, looking back, it feels like it's so... You could tell it was made to sell toys. It's really obvious, but I don't know. I don't think it's a bad thing. I feel like kids still enjoyed it and stuff.
Oh no, I loved it. Even rewatching it, I can totally, I don't know if this is something I'd legitimately watch now, but this is something I totally understand why I loved as a kid. And it's something that I could see myself, getting together with a group of friends and having drinks and riffing on.
Oh, absolutely. There's a lot of riffing material there. There was a lot of commentary when we were watching it. It kind of makes me think, man, if we had more to say, doing a audio commentary while we watch it might be fun one day, just of some things, but because there was some pretty good quips, but
yeah.
I agree though. I can see honestly why kids would have liked it. It held my attention way more than the old She-Ra and He-Man, I gotta say.
Yeah, you got bored when we tried to watch that one.
I was so bored, and it's weird because I like magical girl stuff, and She-Ra's kind of along, but I don't know, I found it so boring, but this one was so fast-paced that I didn't really get time to be bored. There was always something happening. Now, I mean, obviously, that's just movement porn. That's just trying to keep your brain occupied. They want to keep your attention, especially kids, because obviously it was aimed at kids. But, I think it works. It did its job. Well, it did its job on me. I'm, 25, so...
Well, you even commented, the one episode that we watched. Let's show the 3 episodes that I made her watch. Were the first episode, so Robots in Disguise Part 1, SOS Dinobots, and,
Dweller in the Deep.
That one, yes!
Yeah, it was Dweller in the Deep.
And I remember you specifically talking about when we were watching SOS Dinobots, that it seemed like 2 episodes that just kind of got smushed together. It feels like there should be a break.
Yeah.
And, the first half should happen at one point, a few episodes at least happen, and then we get the second bit.
Yeah, it felt like the whole introduction of Dinobots should have been an episode itself, and then the fight with the Decepticons and using the Dinobots and fixing them up. It felt like where they decided to wall them up in that cave, that felt like it should have been the end of the episode.
Yeah.
And then you have a whole other episode dedicated to the fight with the Decepticons. But yeah, I feel like they didn't for some reason. They probably had a limit to how many episodes they could do or something. I don't know.
I mean, who knows? That, it's a very fast-paced show. So it could have just been, let's do Dinobots, and then Dinobots are friends, all the Dinobots at once.
Well, I could see them thinking, okay, we don't know how Dinobots are going to go over, so maybe let's not give them a whole episode to themselves yet.
Yeah.
And maybe that was part of it, because obviously this was their tactic of trying to introduce a way to have more toys, right? So, okay, now the dinosaurs, not just robots that turn into cars, the robots turn into dinosaurs, right? So I could see that.
Yeah.
But yeah, maybe, I could see when you're trying to introduce something new, maybe not dedicating a whole episode just in case it bombs. So that's fair. I could see why they did that. And honestly, that was the funniest episode.
Yeah, that one was fun. We riffed on that one a lot. We riffed on that. And we riffed on the beginning when the Decepticons were raiding the human settlement.
Yeah.
And, why do the humans not care about these robots?
The humans are just you know what? We're gonna throw shit at them. It's a giant it's more than 6 feet. They're huge. They're massive robots. You're just gonna throw a stick at them. Why do you think that's gonna do anything? But, I mean, they're humans, so...
I get it, because, as a human you couldn't do anything, but it's interesting that, giant robot shows up. No one panics. Everyone just starts throwing sticks at it.
Yeah. I feel like that's if that might be a very big stereotype of Ah, yes, we don't get scared. We just throw shit at the scary thing.
I mean, there was the one dude where, like, this weird clip, and that's something I noticed, is the cuts were a little bit weird.
Yeah.
And, like, there was the one cut in that same scene where it looks like the dude just throws himself off the thing and just, like,
and, like you
into
know,
the water.
And you know he was jumping off to go after his son that had fallen and been thrown into the
like,
water.
when you realize it, but the clip on its own, the way it's cut, makes it seem like he just jumps off.
Just like giant robots, yeet. So, you know, it'd be like that sometimes. Sometimes you just see yourself into the ocean because there are giant robots. And that was the funniest episode. I think Dweller in the Deep was, like, they're all action-oriented. It's obviously an action cartoon, but that one felt like the more... like, I'm more serious and more plot-driven. So it felt like, okay, more is going on here, and they're on Cybertron now.
The first two were funnier, definitely, with SOS Dinobots being, like, the best out of the ones we watched.
Yeah, it was the funniest. It was the easiest to riff on.
Oh, yeah. Well, you even commented in the one point when we were talking about their handling of the Dinobots.
Yeah.
Where, like, you create this thing... and then you just wall it off in a thing you comment, like, this is how Frankenstein gets made.
This is what happened. Oh man, this thing I created, he's terrifying. He's got terrifying yellow eyes and he's just kind of creepy. Okay, I don't want this son anymore. You know, except you don't have the guts to, like, kill it, you know, you're just like, whatever. But, like, here, they're like, let's just, they turn them off and put them in the cave. And just, like, this is the equivalent. Like, why did you do this? This sounds like a bad idea. They sound a little angry after. So,
I mean, you can't really blame them.
No, I would be upset if my parent was like, you're a little too scary. We're gonna wall you up. You're just like, you made me. What do you want from me? But no, that one was entertaining. I can very much see why kids enjoy it. And I can see actually rewatching it, like, with people and riffing on it, like you said.
Like, I don't know if I'd watch it on my own, but I think it would be a lot of fun to get together with friends and just riff on.
Yeah, like, I feel like even with all of the action, it would get very repetitive on your own. Like, you'd need another person there.
Yeah.
Like, granted, some people can do it, but, like, most of the time when I rewatch stuff from my childhood as well, I usually watch it with people, probably because I would get a little bit bored, because a lot of the stuff from the past isn't always the best, especially ones that are made just to sell toys.
You can tell it's 80s.
Yeah.
Like, you look at this and like, yeah, this is 80s.
Yeah. But still very fun. And I mean, again, I have a lot of questions coming away from it, like, even with jumping ahead and seeing a later episode, a lot of questions. Also just the fact that, like, they can apparently transform into multiple different things, because, again, I'm coming at this from a person who's never really watched any of the Transformers stuff except for the Michael Bay movies. I'm sorry.
You poor chap. That doesn't count. That's like saying that, you know, like, granted, Transformers isn't exactly the equivalent of Avatar: The Last Airbender, but it's kind of like saying that you only know that from the movies. Like, it's two completely different things. Again, not the equivalent. Transformers is lower, but there have been good Transformers. The Michael Bay movies is not. No.
It's not
Watch
that.
the 80s cartoon over the Michael Bay movies.
I'm not saying a lot, because the cartoon, like I said, it's fun, but it's not that great.
But it's entertaining at least, and there isn't, like, random dick jokes.
No, but, and then, yeah, like, no, it's definitely better than the movie, and that's something, I'm coming at this from not really having seen any of the other stuff. Like, even the later series that you say get better and stuff, I've never seen those either, so coming at this from a totally new perspective, only from what I've seen.
We'll get there.
So it's only what I've seen in pop culture and then those crappy live action movies. And so it's like, I have a lot of questions. Like, my impression was that, like, they could only transform into certain things. I guess it makes sense, like, they show up on the planet, like, and they would look different on their home planet, so now they have to blend in here. So they end up, like, obviously they can transform into more than one thing, but it didn't cross my mind that they could. So I'm just like, okay, you were this and now you're that. Okay, I thought you could only transform into one thing. I love that Megatron can transform into a gun.
Your first comment when you saw that was that it was a power bottom.
Okay, but that's because, like, you think of, like, he's the super supreme leader, which, again, I thought he had more of a Thanos vibe. I thought that's what it's going to be like. He sits on his little throne and commands his minions, because that's what you're used to seeing in cartoons and stuff. But no, he's just down there fighting too. He turns into a gun and lets somebody else wield him. That's pretty power bottom to me. I'm just saying, very big power bottom energy.
No, not again. It's all good.
And it's just really funny to me. I'm just like, okay, you're again, and now somebody else uses you. It reminds me of Soul Eater and how they have the weapons
Yeah,
and
a little bit.
other people use them. And I'm like, that's really interesting. Weird. I did not think that would remind me of an anime, but it did. Okay, but Transformers has a very anime-esque, like, because
Well,
I mean,
yeah, no, like, I'd argue a lot of the 80s stuff has an anime-esque.
yeah, probably inspirations from a lot of like, I mean, mecha stuff from anime.
Whoa.
Except the thing is like, robots are a big thing, I think, and stuff here, but like mechs aren't robots, right? So like
Yeah, no,
they're different.
like, I find, like, in anime,
it's
it's a lot more like mecha, where, like, we have a giant robot, and someone's gonna pilot the giant robot, and it's gonna be cool giant robot stuff.
yeah,
And then on our side, it's like,
sentient
we're
robots.
gonna make a giant sentient robot.
Yeah, the difference is like the robots are sentient. You don't have humans piloting them. So like, and that's the thing. Like with the human in this series, I had heard rumor. Like it's again, I only know from what I've heard in pop culture and other people talking about it. That like, oh, later on the humans get really annoying. But this human was very like just there. Like
Yeah.
he was just there, and I'm like, you're just there. Your name is Spike, I think, and you don't do anything. So I mean, what would you expect?
His name was Spike.
We you don't even remember.
We just watched the thing, but again, he was just there. Like, he didn't... You were there.
Well, he can't really do anything because he's a human. These are giant robots. Obviously, you're not gonna be able to help. I'm sorry. It's like, if you were just like, not like, I don't know, man. It's weird. But anyway, if they had a mech that he could pilot, that would be different. Hey, why can't they make mechs? They're robots. They can make other living robots, apparently. So why can't they make a mech for this human? Protect his fleshy vessel with a metal vessel. But no, that was, yeah. There was a lot of interesting things. I didn't, like I said, didn't realize they could change on other things. And I have a lot of questions about the origin of their planet and them as a species.
Cybertron.
Yes.
The planet's called Cybertron.
Yes. I have questions because like, are these like, because like, I'm thinking like in Subnautica, there are these alien races. I don't remember what they're called. The Architects? Something like that. Anyway. And, like, they toy with the thing of, like, biological and, like, robotic life.
Yeah. We ran into that with the Dweller in the Deep.
Yeah, and it kind of touches on, like, how some species or whatever were so advanced that they, like, basically they're sentient, like, their brains as their consciousness. There we go. That's the word I was looking for. Is, like, in a robotic vessel. And I have a lot of questions about the robots and how, like, did they just evolve as, like, robot? Did somebody create them that was biological? Or did they just always exist as
Okay, that depends
robots?
on which canon we're going with here. Basic canon is they are, like, sentient robots. Like, they are robots, like, fully mechanical, but they have souls.
But, like, how did they get created?
Again, that depends on, like, how deep in the lore do we want to go with and which canon are we going with.
And that's not what this episode is
no,
about.
like, that's a different thing. We're specifically reviewing the episodes we watched.
But I was just curious, because that comes up, because in the first episode it mentions that, like, oh, they're on this planet. And then, oh, they're just sentient robots. Just accept it. And obviously, as a kid, you just accept it.
Yeah.
But I'm curious as an adult. And then in the Dweller in the Deep episode, it mentions that the things that lived on Cybertron before...
Yeah, the aliens we ran into in Dweller in the Deep.
Mm-hmm.
And the aliens that made the worm leech vampire. It pissed you off so much that they kept calling this worm a vampire when they should have called it a leech.
I mean, it clearly should have been called a leech. Okay, Optimus Prime, sorry. I get the names confused because they're very generic, my bad.
They're on completely different sides. They're completely different.
I know, they're completely different characters.
That is, in my opinion, the equivalent of, because again, like, going off what you know, and how, like, Starscream because you had a really annoying voice.
Yeah.
And when we have Megatron on screen, like, when we first meet Megatron, you're like, oh, that must be Starscream, he sounds so annoying. And then Starscream starts talking, you're like, oh no, it's that one.
Yeah, because that's all I really knew about Starscream was that there's a lot of porn of Starscream and Megatron, and 2, he has a really annoying voice and he's always trying to overthrow Megatron. They have a very love-hate relationship. Um,
I guess that explains the porn that you've apparently seen.
Okay, no, I haven't seen it, but I've heard people talk about it. No, I because of what I know Starscream's annoying. And that's why I'm gonna guess that's him. And then Bumblebee was easy to guess. He's yellow.
Yeah.
I mean, Bumblebee's yellow. That's all I know. And then
as someone who's watched it, and it's been so long since I watched the original 80s, something I really enjoyed is I really enjoyed watching, like, the OG and where this started and seeing how the characters, like, knowing how the characters end up becoming in later renditions and watching them how they originated was really cool. Which, like, right, Archie was pink.
they all change over time, and sometimes for the better,
Oh,
right?
Yeah, no, I'd say, yeah.
For the better. It's like, this is where it started. It's kind of like when you see, like, I don't know, when you see, like, a really old version of a show.
Yeah.
Like, you look at old Voltron and think, like, oh, this is where it started.
And especially knowing that, like, this thing spawned so many other things. Like, this became such a thing. This is such a thing.
It's very interesting. Very cool.
Another thing you were commenting on is the size differences and the things that they could change into other than vehicles.
Yeah, because I thought logic was, like, you could transform, but you had to be a similar size. So you couldn't have, like, a 10-foot tall robot turn into a walkie-talkie or, like, a gun. But no, you just turn into a gun. And I'm just like, I mean, that's kind of cool. It's kind of metal. But, like, also, what the fuck? Or, like, the 3 robots that turn into
a camera.
The camera. And I'm like, that's weird. Honestly, I think they had a lot of creative concepts.
Oh, yeah,
but because it was just to sell toys, they couldn't really delve into it.
Well, yeah, there's some very creative concepts. Like, I don't know if we brought this up before in the video, but the titles. You were looking through the titles and the titles and really enjoying just reading through the episode titles.
Yeah, because some of the titles are terrible, but some of them are really good. Like, there are some gems in there. I'm like, that's a pretty cool title. It's a shame it was, wasted on, like, an 80s show that most people aren't rewatching, because some of the titles are really creative. I like them. They evoke a very strong imagery with them.
And there's definitely some really cool ideas here. And, like, you can definitely see how this becomes something more later on.
Yeah.
And granted, I know that Transformers never becomes, like, the coup de grace, but the way it evolves and what it started with is so cool.
Yeah, it's very fascinating. And I think that's an interesting thing about, like, Lindsay Ellis's loose cannon and all of the loose cannons. Yeah. But just a really interesting thing about that stuff and about how looking at how a character has evolved from something maybe a little bit more 2-dimensional to being way more 3-dimensional and being way more of a character and having hobbies and more of a personality, which is really interesting to see. Yeah. And I think that's what you get when you look at these old shows and then potentially later go on and see all of the new stuff.
I do think the evolution of it is one of the reasons why I definitely want to show you later episodes and later series and ones that maybe I remember a little bit more clearly and seeing and analyzing how it is that this evolved through time.
Yeah, because and I imagine, like, you don't always have time for, like, that kind of change in the same series, especially if it was just made to sell toys, but later series probably do get that opportunity, so it'll be interesting to see. So I think that's all we have to say for now on the topic. Really interesting show. If you get the chance to watch it and riff on it with your friends, I would suggest it. I think it'd be fun to do. I didn't expect to enjoy it, so yeah, nice. Thanks for listening.